Hello, John. Welcome, welcome. Yes, as noted, this is my first go here, and I'm excited to hear more about all of your companies. So I want to give just a little brief introduction for you, John. You're with First Phosphate, and this is a mineral development company fully dedicated to extracting and purifying phosphate for the production of cathode active material for the lithium iron phosphate battery industry. So first off, welcome to you. And the floor is yours, John. You tell us all about your company.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. I guess we have half an hour in total, including questions. Is that correct? Okay, great. So, does everybody see my screen here? Yes, Lindsay, you see my screen?
We can see it.
Okay, perfect. So, as Lindsay was saying, we are First Phosphate. We are from hard rock, not from sandstone deposit, which is apt for creating purified phosphoric acid for the lithium iron phosphate battery industry. So right up front, it's very important to understand that we bypass entirely the fertilizer markets. We have nothing to do with the fertilizer markets. They're a good space. They are a commoditized space. We're in the really the high purity phosphate business for lithium iron phosphate battery, and that's where we believe that the biggest growth and the biggest profit margin, because it's a capacity constrained commodity, like what you've heard from some of the other speakers today. Okay. So LFP battery. This is really important to understand because the market has missed this. Just read this figure here. This was as of 2023, two-thirds of the batteries coming out of China, two-thirds of the batteries produced on the planet. Now it's even higher. It goes into the 70%. Our lithium iron phosphate battery industry. I know that the entire Western world is still very much focused on nickel, manganese, and cobalt. And there's definitely a place for nickel, manganese, cobalt batteries that's in high performance vehicles. But for everything else, economical vehicles, transportation, energy storage, robotics, data center applications, everything is moving to LFP battery. Why? Because it is safer, it is more cost effective, and it is now the battery of mass adoption for those types of industries. It's really important to understand this. I think that's fundamental. I don't think that the markets have, just as of yet in the West, shifted off of NMC onto the understanding of what LFP battery really is, and that it's going to be all the growth in the future in the next decade. Very few companies that you can invest in LFP. We are one of these companies in North America. Really, onshored ability to supply North America and Europe. So, as I was saying, right, lithium iron phosphate battery, you know, the vertical of small electric vehicles is only 7.1% LFP battery. Public transportation is 11%. Go to China, every single public transportation is all electrified, and it's all electrified on LFP battery. There's a telecom communications perspective as well for telecom towers that are away from grids. Excuse me here, I lost my presentation. And then here's a big chunk, really. This is the battery storage, whether this be battery storage units in houses once you buy an electric vehicle, or whether it be some form of massive grid storage, whether that be solar. As you know, there's a lot of this in Germany, wind. There's a lot of this as well in Germany and Europe, northern parts of Europe. Also hydroelectric. So really important battery for massive energy storage. This is our phosphate. As you can see it's found on surface. It's kind of the white brittle stuff that you see in the middle of hard rock. Almost all of this is fully convertible into purified phosphoric acid, which goes into making LFP cathode active material for LFP batteries. There's already going to be a big shortage of phosphate in North America by 2037. We won't even have enough of the sedimentary phosphate that makes fertilizer, let alone anything to make LFP battery. This deposit is specific to being able to make a lot of LFP battery, and it does not compete with food production, which is very, very important. It's completely green. The byproducts that come from the development of the phosphoric acid, gypsum byproduct, are fully recyclable. This is the deposit. We're now into the PEA stage. PEA has been completed. We've drilled down only to about 250 meters. Okay, so we're massively opened at depth. In Russia, where these other types of igneous volcanic mines for phosphate are found, and in northern Finland, they go down to about a kilometer and a half. We've only gone down 200 to 250 meters. So we're just on surface here. It's a 2.5 kilometer pit. Just on what we have here, we have 23 years of phosphate as qualified per the PEA. And that would produce enough phosphate for 350 gigawatt hours of LFP batteries. To give an indication of that, 350 gigawatt hours of LFP batteries would be enough to electrify 50% of all the vehicles being produced in North America. That's between, North America, between Canada, USA, and Mexico, and it would be similar in Europe. So a massive, massive deposit. What we've just shown here is 23 years. It could go on for many, 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 many more years. We've already been able to create the purified phosphoric acid with the industry leader out of Belgium, Prayon. They've taken our feedstock and they've been able to create purified phosphoric acid out of it. So we're completely proven into the downstream. The really important thing about this is that the NPV is 2.1 billion Canadian dollars. The payback on the mine is 2.9 years, and the IRR is 37%. And our strip ratio is very low, 1.5 to 1. But the real big pièce de résistance here is our location in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region of Quebec. To give everybody an understanding, everybody knows obviously the St. Lawrence. Come down into the St. Lawrence, that's Quebec Sea here. You go a little further down here into Montreal. Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean is a very industrialized area of Quebec. It's the 5th largest population center, and it's 2 hours north by automobile from Quebec City, which many of you probably know and probably have visited, one of the most beautiful cities in North America. Now, why is this important? So this whole area of Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean is really Rio Tinto Valley. It's where the bauxite comes in from various countries and is then processed at all the hydroelectric dams that you have between, this big lake here, Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, and the fjord. There's a lot of hydroelectric power in there. So Rio Tinto is taking up the bauxite and is basically processing the bauxite into aluminum. The aluminum then travels kind of from here, which is an intermodal station, truck and rail, and then makes it all the way down to the heart of North America to build, vehicles, aircraft, appliances, whatever it might be. So a very strategic, important area of North America here. In fact, we have a NATO base here that's been protecting the valley since the Second World War, and also a very important forestry region in this area. Now, the forest is slowly dying for different reasons, the forestry industry. The aluminum industry is strong, but it's less and less jobs every year. So the whole region needs a new type of development, industrial development, because it's very industrialized, and you cannot lose that. And there's a lot of great suppliers in the area, and there's also a lot of labor force in the area, which are things that people don't think of, but they're very important. You go find that up in, James Bay and Hudson's Bay on the lithium mines. We've got all that here within 50 kilometers. Give you an idea, the mine here, Baie-Jean-la-Marche, the phosphate mine, is at 50 kilometers from Alma, which is one of the largest population basins in Quebec. It's where Rio Tinto has all their infrastructure. And we're 60 kilometers from the intermodal station, rail to truck to rail. And then we're about 70 kilometers from the deep sea port of Saguenay, where we will be shipping part of our mine stock over to Europe for an offtake agreement, which we have, which is now definitive. And the other part of our feedstock will be going here to the port of Saguenay, where we will be producing or upgrading the phosphate into phosphoric acid at the port of Saguenay. And this is all within, basically a radius of, 50 kilometers, which is exceptional for industrial minerals, critical minerals. You just don't find that anymore in population basins. So you can sure as hell we have the logistics to be able to build this project out, logistics that make sense. Well, the valley area here, as you start going up here, there's the hills. There's some other phosphate found up here in the hills, but they're pretty much mountains. It's a little bit difficult to get up here, but we're sitting in the valley. We're sitting right near the infrastructure. Couldn't be better located next to infrastructure, rail and port, etc. Okay, so now, this is our plan. So obviously, at Baie-Jean-la-Marche, which is the phosphate mine, we plan to extract and concentrate the phosphate. We get the highest purity phosphate in the world, by the way, the highest percentage of P2O5, which is a measurement of phosphate. That's important because it then allows you to do this sector here and to create the phosphoric acid, which would be our second transformation. And obviously from there, we transform into LFP cathode active material. So we've been able to do all three of these projects already in pilot and in bench scale. The mine already has been able to be proven out to make the phosphoric acid, and we need to make iron phosphate, lithium iron phosphate as well. We've got a very good series of partners that get us down the road. We've got GKN Hoganese, which is the world's largest producer of atomized iron in the world. And they will be taking in one of our secondary recoveries from the mine, which is magnetite, and sending that back to us in the form of powder to make LFP together with the phosphate. We've also got significant offtake here on the mine side. We've offtaken about 25% of the mine. We do not want to offtake more of that. That's just enough to make us bankable. I have about 30 to 40% phosphoric acid already offtaken. We will not be offtaking more than that because we need it for our own production, but it's enough again to make us bankable. We have sizable offtakes here in the iron phosphate and lithium iron phosphate that we're currently in the process of finalizing, as well as our small scale commercial plant, which should be beginning here shortly. Okay. Really important to de-risk the project, really important to have good community relations, good relationships with partners. We mentioned already Prayon of Belgium, American Battery Factory in Nevada, which needs 40,000 tons of LFP CAM. We're under MOU with them. Export-Import Bank of the United States is willing to provide the capital on equipment. Is a division of Glencore. They're willing to provide the sulfuric acid that we need to make the phosphoric acid. Very strong relationship, collaboration agreement with our Indigenous partners, who are also in the process of looking to make an investment in the company at this time. Relationships with the government of Quebec, discuss GK Hoganese, the largest atomizer of iron powder in the world, and then a number of local and international partnerships supporting our developments. Our timelines have always been met and beat. We're very proud of that. The next stages that we're moving into here would be our feasibility study, and we're slowly also just finalizing all of our strategic relationships that have been built over the years. Luckily for everybody on this call, the world of phosphate is not as much of a darling as gold or uranium or some of the other critical minerals like tungsten that are out there. The understanding around phosphate is on its way. It's coming. If you look at a little piece that was put out by Benchmark Minerals, as well as together with Visual Capitalist, the second most efficient and needed product or material for the battery industry is now phosphate after copper. So phosphate ranks ahead of the requirement for lithium, the requirement for nickel, the requirement for everything else other than copper. Obviously, copper is still the biggest because of all the wiring in vehicles and in energy storage devices, but after that, it's phosphate. We are a $30 million market cap company with $20 million invested. We have been meeting, exceeding, beating all expectations, and I'm pretty sure that we're the next project that is going to go live here in Quebec. We're scheduled to be in production, if everything goes well, on a very aggressive timeline by 2029. So still lots of good room to come here. One thing I did not mention was that our PEA value, we are trading at 1% of our PEA value with definitive offtakes in place. I mean, it's a very big disconnect. There's a very big opportunity there. Have a look, dive behind our management team, which I'll show you in a second. And, if you believe that this project will move forward, the valuation really here is extremely compelling. 1% of PEA value on a project that could be in production here within 4 years, and a project that has a offtake in place and significant downstream ability as well. What I was just talking to you about there was the mine. We're not even talking about the value added to phosphoric acid and then the value added to LFP CAM. What I'm really proud of our board and our management is really that we're a very multifunction team. We see ourselves more as a backwards integrated technology company, backwards integrated into the mine, than we do see ourselves as a mining company. The material and technology for us, it's all a big blend. So for that reason, our board and our management is very diverse. We have strong business leaders. We have strong leaders in the mining sector, strong leaders in the technology sector, and strong global leadership as well in critical minerals. That's very important that we have all three. So based on that, I'd like to stop here, and I'd like to maybe answer any questions that the audience might have. And I thank you very much for giving me the time today.
Thank you, John, so much. That was actually a really great presentation and so full of so many insights. So thank you for that for sure. Just a couple quick ones that have come in. What strategic advantages does First Phosphate anticipate with the projected annual production of 900,000 tons of high-grade phosphate concentrate over the next 23-year mine life?
What strategic advantages?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we discussed that a little bit in the presentation. You have to
Mhm.
remember the mine, the 900,000 tons was not just something that came based on the mineral deposit. It was something that was decided upon strategically. So 900,000 tons, the way it divides up is we have offtake in place between 200,000 and 400,000. 200,000 is definitive, and then another portion is sort of variable, but 400,000 tons would be for others, okay, of which most of that is already off taken. And so that's important to make us bankable. The 500,000 tons goes into the phosphoric acid plant. That would be our own phosphoric acid plant, which would allow us to make 190,000 tons of phosphoric acid, which then allows us to make LFP cathode active material. And so the mine has been 100% right sized for this project. That's number one. Number
Yeah.
two, you have to understand that this material, this phosphate material, which is the world's highest purity anywhere found anywhere on the planet, is perfect for making phosphoric acid. So basically, there's almost a 95% conversion ratio in terms of the apatite that comes from the mine, apatite being phosphate concentrate, and the production of purified phosphoric acid. You do not get that in sedimentary deposits. Sedimentary deposits, maybe 10, 15, 20% can be scaled up, depends on the deposit. So basically, we're going to be producing enough phosphoric acid for, 10 sedimentary mines, and without the cumbersome need to be in the fertilizer industry. So fully focused on LFP battery. So it's a very strategic reserve going directly after technology. Never been done in the world before. Currently there are some igneous phosphate mines that are producing, being used to produce purified phosphoric acid. That goes mostly into the food industry, goes into things like freezer burn, shrimp, water treatment, Coca-Cola, for instance, soft drinks, goes into paints, goes into fire retardants and all this stuff. But very little of it goes into LFP battery. It's the same type of materials. The purified phosphoric acid will go into these foods and industrial uses, and will also go into LFP battery, but we'll be producing just for LFP battery exactly what the industry needs to be able to grow inside of the West and North America.
Okay, that makes sense. Manuel had a question. Can you tell us about more about the M&A activities in the market? Is there more coming?
M&A activities with regards, I guess, to phosphate and to LFP battery, or is it just in regards to critical minerals in general? Um,
Let's cover
so
both of those just in case.
Okay, so there's been some a bit of M&A activity inside the phosphate world. If you see as of late, there's been some phosphate mines that have changed hands in Brazil. There's been some that have changed hands or in the process of changing hands in Australia. That's a typical process. The phosphate producers will buy and sell, but again, that's mostly based on fertilizer. There's nothing out there based on LFP battery yet. I would assume that as soon as the LFP battery, which is starting, hot and heavy here in the Western world, as soon as there becomes a local supply chain, which I believe is only months away, I'm sure there will be some of the in the Western world. The only problem is that there isn't really any assets that can produce a lot of purified phosphoric acid. I only know really of First Phosphate that can do that in an economical fashion, in a fashion that is um, that is real and that can actually be implemented. So, I mean, phosphate, take a really, 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 really hard look at this. It is even more rare than gold. It is even more rare than lithium. You'll say, well, phosphate, it's all over the place. Well, it is for fertilizer, but phosphate that can make a lot of purified phosphoric acid for LFP battery is extremely rare. You could put it up there on the same level as some of these other very rare critical minerals like to give for comparison value of tungsten, gallium, or whatever else, you just will not find the deposits that the hard rock deposits to be able to make a lot of purified phosphoric acid. You won't find many of them in the Western world, and the ones that you do find will be very far away from any kind of infrastructure to make them at all viable. We have all of that with the first phosphate project at Bégin-La-Marche and in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean area.
Well, congratulations on that advancement of Beijing Lamar to vaulting into first place as quality deposits, very well located. So Eric is actually saying, you know, the BAPE, the BAPE should not be an issue at the Falco one in you know any of your projects. So what is the local population and how is that favorable to the project?
Yeah, so what he's referring to there, BAPE, c'est le BAP, Bureau des audiences publiques sur l'environnement. It's a special type of environmental passage that you have to go through just in Quebec. So at the end of all your studies, you have to go through and you have to satisfy the population of the project. It's not a be all and end all, the BAP. It's not implementable, but it is very important symbolically. It's like a moral suasion tool, and it's one to make sure that everyone's happy locally with what's going on. You know, we worked very hard with the local community in terms of local acceptability. We've got an agreement with the CMAX, which is the association of all the suppliers, the large heavy equipment suppliers, of which there are many in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. So that's very helpful. You know, we work very hard in conjunction with all the local organizations, the local municipalities. You know, we've had the local municipalities send in letters to support our megawatt demand, very much supporting the project. And like I said, we have the large collaboration agreement with our local Indigenous community that supports us, you know, 100%. So all of that does help with the BAP. Also, remember, we're only 900,000 tons of phosphate. It sounds like it's small and big at the same time. It's really the perfect size. So the mine has been right sized to be able to meet local requirements, you know, kind of a Goldilocks scenario, not too hot, not too cold. And at the same time to, you know, be able to meet industrial requirements for profitability and all of that. So we're quite happy. We've done so much consultation already locally that we're very well known. I mean, sure, things can change as you move along, but we're always very careful to be very much in sync with the local communities. And like I said, that area of Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, it's a pristine area. The people love their area. They work hard and they know how to live also with industry because it's been industrialized for a number of years. And they're also looking for new industry. They desperately need new industry. For instance, in the area where our mine is going to be located, there's been a lot of job loss from the forestry industry, and people are, you know, I can tell you how many resumes I get every day telling people, you know, we'll be ready soon. We'll be ready soon. You'll be able to apply soon. People are very, very supportive and very friendly.
Great answer. So when will a feasibility study be done? And where do you see the first phosphate in 3 years?
Yeah, so the feasibility study needs to begin this year at some point. That includes all the environmental studies and all the regular feasibility studies that go along with it. That's a process which we think will take us between 18 and 24 months. At the same time, near the tail end of that, we'll be working on our EPCM to try and get the mine into place by 2029. It's a very aggressive timeline, but we're working hard. We've been very aggressive to date. At first, we were told we were crazy. Then we were told, oh, okay, you're lucky. And then we were told that it's working. And then we were told that we're an example for other companies to follow as well. So now there's a lot of pressure on us to, you know, continue that trajectory. Because again, we see ourselves as a technology company. We don't see ourselves as a traditional mining company for gold or what it might be. You know, we have a technological material here. We have to get it to market as soon as possible, and we have to be able to, you know, work within convention, and we have to be able to break convention, and we have to be able to, you know, be forward-looking and look at the future. What are the requirements of the future, and follow our own trajectory.
So, well, let's talk about the vertical integration strategy then. From mining to LFP, what are the main technical and logistic challenges anticipated in scaling up the pilot to commercial production?
Yeah, so you know, first thing to understand is, you know, I'm not a big believer in hoogabaloo around you know non-commercial technology. So everything that we've done to date has been based on commercial technology, meaning that, you know, if it's a pilot or a bench study and there's nothing in it, it's not out there in the real world, we just don't do it, okay? Because you don't know how long that's going to take to bring to market. So that's why we've chosen our partners wisely. Prayon, world's largest producer of purified phosphoric acid, they have already given us access to the technology to make purified to make merchant grade phosphoric acid and ultimately purified phosphoric acid. That's technology that's been out there for 70 years. It's produced all over the world, day in, day out. So it's not an experiment. This is where we're very lucky in phosphate. We've got that industrial experience behind us. With GK and Hogan, he's making the iron powder and having access to 400,000 tons of that iron powder, which could make over 1 million tons of LFP. We've got that. So all of these are large companies that are producing. They're supporting us. They want to grow their sales. They're behind us. So all of our bench and pilot really and moving into small scale commercial is not a difficult process. It's a capital related process. We're going small. Our first step on all of this stuff is to go into small scale commercial. We're doing that with our iron phosphate plant here, hopefully in the next few months. And so it's all based on processes that are out there in the real world. So there's just zero technology risk, right? I do not believe in having technology risk around the table. There's already enough business risk out there as it is, let alone risk in a technology that is not proven. So yeah, we're all 100% proven technology right through the supply chain that we're creating.
Okay, one more question for you, John. Do you think do you think there will be an overtaken on that way to production? That's what Manuel's asking this. Do you think you will be overtaken on that way to production?
I think he's saying, will the company be
Will there be an
taken
overtake?
over, or will there be an
Yeah.
opportunity for the company on the way to production? Look, I believe, especially in these very critical mineral type of projects, I got to take that football. We're talking American football here. We're not talking European football, and I got to drive that football down the field, and I got to go for the touchdown. And in the meantime, if somebody wishes to have discussions on partnering or taking over the company, well, of course, we're business people. We're going to have those discussions. But it's got to be done right. We're not going to leave our community out there in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean hung out to dry. It would only be with very, very large players. As you see, there's already very large players at the table with First Phosphate. Again, right now we're thinking of getting into production. We're thinking of working very hard. We're thinking of making this happen. And if somebody wants to take us out at the 10-yard line, the 20-yard line, the 30-yard line, well, that's fine. But we're running this into the end zone if we have to.
Well said. I love that analogy. So that is all the time we have. John, it has been such a pleasure to learn about your company, and I can't wait to actually hear more insights coming down the pipeline.
Well, that's great. And a pleasure to meet you too today. Lindsay did such a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll see you soon for sure.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye-bye.